Anime starts in the past, when powerful gods who made the universe decided to live among humans. They made a promise to not use their strong powers, but instead, they give special blessings to humans, making them stronger. These people come together in groups called Familia. In the present, the story follows a guy named Bel Cranel, who is a member of a familia led by a goddess named Hestia. He almost dies in a dungeon fighting a minotaur. However, a girl with golden hair comes to his rescue. Later, he talks to Ina, who is like his advisor in the guild, to find out more about this girl. He learns that her name is Ace Wallenstein. She is a part of goddess Loki's familia and a strong adventurer. Later, Bel goes back home to his goddess, Hestia. They have a happy dinner together, eating fried potatoes. Hestia checks Bel's progress and discovers he gained a skill called Release Phrase. She decides to keep it a secret to protect him from other gods who might want his skill. The next day, Bel prepares for the dungeon. On the way, he senses someone following him. A girl tells him he dropped a magic stone, but Bel is sure he gave them all away. He thanks her, and when his stomach rumbles, she offers him lunch, even though he's hesitant. She gives him food and asks him to visit the pub later. Inside the dungeon, Bel battles monsters. In the evening, he notices a significant improvement in his abilities, which surprises him. He asks Hestia about it, but she becomes angry and leaves their home in frustration. Bel goes to the hostess of Fertility Pub and meets Sir Flova, the girl he encountered earlier. While eating, a maid announces that the Loki Familia, including Ace, has arrived at the pub. The Loki Familia members are enjoying their drinks, but one of them, Bedloga, gets drunk and starts asking Ace about the guy who got scared in the dungeon while fighting the Minotaur. This deeply hurts Bel, so he leaves the pub abruptly and goes into the dungeon to vent his frustration, staying there all night. The next morning, outside his home, Hestia sees Bel returning with wounds. She rushes to him as he collapses into her arms. Bel expresses his strong desire to become stronger. After some time, she finally reveals his rapid growth and potential as an adventurer. She promises to support him and asks him to stay with her, and he agrees. Later, she tells Bel she'll be away for 3 days for the gods' banquet. Bel returns to the tavern, apologizes to the owner for not paying the bill, and she forgives him. During the gods' banquet, Hestia is busy eating when Freya greets her, and Loki joins them. Hestia asks Loki about Ace's love life, and Loki says Ace would turn down anyone interested. After Loki leaves, Hephaestus arrives, and Hestia is excited to meet her. However, Hephaestus refuses to lend more money, recalling Hestia's past freeloaded meals. Hestia argues that things have changed because she has a Familia member now and begs Hephaestus to make a weapon for Bel. After some convincing, Hephaestus agrees, but on the condition that Hestia repays her debt, no matter how long it takes. The next day, Bel strolls down the street when Anya, a pub employee, calls to him and asks him to deliver a wallet to Seer. After some work, Hephaestus and Hestia finish crafting a magic-infused knife. Meanwhile, Loki and Freya sit together on a cafe balcony, with Ace standing nearby. Loki asks Freya which child from another familia she's interested in, and Freya mentions Bel. Bel unexpectedly runs into Hestia and she takes his hand and invites him on a date, where they enjoy crepes near the Colosseum. However, Hestia becomes jealous when she learns that Bel is searching for a girl. Their time together is interrupted by a silverback monster from the Colosseum that appears behind Hestia. Bel and Hestia quickly run to Deadless Street. Despite being scared, Bel is determined to protect Hestia. He fights the monster, but his blade breaks. To keep Hestia safe, he locks her behind a metal gate and prepares to face the gorilla without any weapons. Bel remembers the day a monster killed his grandfather in the mountains. This sad event pushed him to become an adventurer, but he faced rejection from many groups he approached. Eventually, goddess Hestia offered him a spot in her familia. Back to the present, at the Colosseum, the god Ganesha, who runs the arena where the gorilla was set free, orders its capture to protect innocent people. He asks for help from other groups. Meanwhile, Bel continues his battle with the silverback monster. At the same time, Hestia manages to escape from the tunnel but stumbles and falls. She regains her composure and keeps running. Elsewhere, Misha tells Ina about the escaped monsters from the Colosseum. Ace and her goddess, Loki, overhear this conversation between the two guild members. Ace asks Ina about the remaining monsters, and Ina says there are 3 to 4 left, so Ace goes to hunt them. Hestia finds her way back to Bel, and they run away together from the gorilla. When she's about to give Bel the knife, they are confronted by the silverback again. Hestia hands Bel the weapon, now called the Hestia knife, which is a special weapon that grows stronger with Bel's strength. As Bell wields the weapon, his abilities surge, and he defeats the gorilla quickly. Many people, including Ace, witness his impressive feat before she walks away with a smile. Hestia suddenly faints from exhaustion, and an unknown goddess watches from a distance. Bell sits tiredly outside Hestia's room at the hostess of fertility pub. Seer tells him they can stay there as long as needed while Hestia recovers. Later, Bell realizes the Hestia knife was made by Hephaestus, making it valuable. He appreciates what Hestia has done for him and promises to keep believing in her. Meanwhile, in the dungeon, an adventurer mistreats a girl named Lily, forcing her to carry his gear and threatening her with monsters. Bell decides to explore the riskier parts of the dungeon, so his guild advisor, Ina, insists he upgrades his armor. They go to Hephaestus' shop in Babel for new armor. There, they see Hestia working to repay her debt to Hephaestus, and Hestia shows jealousy towards Ina. Ina then guides Bell to a floor for novice blacksmiths where he can find affordable gear. On his way home, Bell steps in when Ged tries to attack his supporter. Ged gets angry at Bell but is stopped by Ryu, who makes Ged leave and the girl disappears. The next day, Bell heads to the dungeon and is approached by a girl named Lily who offers to be his supporter. Bell recognizes her from before and introduces himself. Inside the dungeon, Bell fights killer ants with Lily's help. After the battle, they talk about Bell's knife, which was a gift from his goddess. Bell asks about Lily's Familia, the Soma Familia, but she doesn't say anything and suggests they collect magical stones for the day. In the evening at the guild, Ina tells Bell about the Soma Familia's history. They also discuss Lily, and Bell decides to invite her to join his party. As Bell is about to leave, he realizes his knife is missing, which shocks him. Meanwhile, Lily tries to sell Bell's knife at a store but is offered a low price due to its condition. Ryu notices Lily with the knife and she flees, accidentally bumping into Bell. He, unaware of Lily's intent to steal, thanks Ryu for finding his knife. Alone, Bell asks Lily to explore the dungeon together the next day, and she agrees. They venture into the dungeon, and Lily notices the knife missing. Bell explains that he's keeping it in his bracer. Later, when they earn money for killing monsters, Bell splits it equally, which surprises Lily, as she's used to getting very little from previous partners. Elsewhere in the dungeon, Ace prepares to face a tough monster, and on the other side, the goddess Freya is secretly watching Bell's movements. Later that day, Hestia feels disheartened when she sees Bell with Lily. At night, Hestia talks to her friend Mayak about feeling sad because of Bell and Lily. The next day, Bell helps a hangover Hestia, which annoys her. To make it up to her, he suggests they go out to eat using the money he earned in the dungeon. Hestia thinks it's a date and brags about it to goddess Demeter at the temple bath. When the day of the date comes, Demeter spreads the news, and many curious goddesses want to meet Hestia's boyfriend, which overwhelms Bell. To avoid them, Hestia and Bell spend most of the day hiding and find a bell tower with a great view. Meanwhile, members of Lily's Soma Familia take the money Bell gave her, pushing her to consider stealing Bell's knife. She's confused because Bell keeps treating her kindly. The next day at the guild, Misha and Ina talk about the Soma Familia suddenly having a lot of money. Meanwhile, Bell battles monsters in the dungeon with Lily's help. The next day, Bell returns some lunch to Seer and gets interested in a magic book she lets him borrow. At home, he reads the book and is amazed that he can now use firebolt magic without chanting. Hestia suggests testing it in the dungeon, but Bell overdoes it and faints due to mana deficiency. Ace finds him, and when he wakes up with his head in her lap, Bell panics and rolls away, leaving Ace puzzled. In the morning, they discover that the magic book Bell had is now empty. At a store, Ina meets Loki and her friend Riveria and arranges for Riveria to buy expensive Soma wine for Loki in exchange for information about the Soma Familia. Meanwhile, Bell is at the dungeon entrance, looking for Lily. Ged offers to help him steal Lily's hidden money from the Soma Familia, but Bell refuses. Lily sees them talking and they both enter the dungeon, as Lily worries that their time together might end soon. Lily remembers her past when she lost her parents and had to work as a supporter. She grew to dislike adventurers. In the present, the Loki Familia discovers that the Soma Familia stopped worshipping their god and started making a strong, addictive wine that adventurers would spend their money on. Ace, who's interested in Bell, has been sad since he ran away from her. In another place, we see Lily preparing for something. At the church, Hestia and Bell discuss Lily being targeted by bad adventurers. Hestia is suspicious of Lily and thinks she might have hidden motives and can't be trusted. Although Bell acknowledges this, he still trusts Lily. Outside the dungeon the next day, Bell meets her, and she suggests starting at level 10. Bell is unsure, but Lily convinces him to give it a try. They don't know that Ina is inspecting the dungeon and meets Ace. As Bell and Lily head to level 10, Lily gives Bell a baselard, a short sword, to make up for his knife's short reach. On the surface, Ina and Ace talk about how Ace saved Belle in the past. During this conversation, they overhear another discussion between Canoe, Ged, and two others. Suspicious of Lily, Ina asks Ace for help. Deep in the dungeon, Belle and Lily face and work on the 10th level, and Belle takes on the challenge. She tricks Belle into battling tough monsters and steals his knife again. She removes the magic that gives her Beastman ears and leaves Belle to die at the hands of monsters. Ged catches her to steal her treasure, but he also gets betrayed by the Soma Familia. Ged dies, and Lily has to give up her bank key where she was storing her money. They left her to die from the killer ants, and just before her end, Belle arrives and uses Firebolt to destroy the killer ants. Meanwhile, Ina urges Hestia to convince Belle to cut ties with Lily, but Hestia disagrees. She believes that Belle doesn't want to abandon Lily. In the dungeon, Lily cries and confesses to cheating and stealing from him. Still, Belle forgives her. Ace, hidden in the fog to protect Belle without being seen, is upset for some reason. Later, Belle apologizes to Ina for losing the bracer she gave him, but Ina isn't bothered. She's just glad he's safe. The next day, Belle meets Lily again, and they restart their partnership. Later, Ace finds a piece of armor Belle lost during the fight. The scene shifts to the library, where Freya notices Belle's progress but worries about his hesitation. She believes he will overcome it and asks Otter, one of her Familia members, to make some arrangements. Lily meets Hestia with Belle and apologizes, which Hestia reluctantly accepts. She warns Lily not to get too close to Belle, and they argue over him. Belle gets embarrassed and runs away. Belle then encounters Ina, who is with Ace. Belle tries to escape, but she stops him, and Ina scolds him. Belle apologizes and learns that Ace has something to discuss with him. She returns his lost gauntlet from the dungeon and apologizes for frightening him. Realizing he's not strong enough for his goal, Ace offers to train him. At dawn, they train on the city wall, and Belle keeps getting knocked down but refuses to give up. She asks about his source of strength, and he mentions that he aims to reach the same level as someone, which is Ace herself. Meanwhile, Freya sends Otter into the dungeon to fight Minotaurs as part of her orders. Otter encounters a Minotaur with a bloody weapon, and he's impressed. He breaks the Minotaur's weapon and gives it his own to practice with. Otter spars with the Minotaur he gave his weapon to and breaks its horn. The next day, Belle continues training with Ace until he faints, and they decide to take a break. Later, Belle and Ace walk in the city and stop at Hestia's food stall. Hestia gets angry when she sees Belle with Ace, scolds him, and then learns the situation. Hestia allows it to continue for a few days, but warns Ace not to get too close. Meanwhile, Otter tames and equips a Minotaur before setting it loose on the upper floors of the dungeon. Belle learns that Ace has reached level 6, which motivates him even more to catch up to her. While walking in the city, Seer asks Belle to help wash dishes, and though he's not thrilled, he agrees. Ryu advises him to expand his group and go on more adventures to level up. The next day, Belle and Ace spar for the last time in their training as the Loki Familia is about to head into the dungeon for an expedition. Belle thanks Ace, and she does the same. Back at the church, Belle prepares for another adventure and tells Hestia about his final training day. As he leaves, Hestia wants to show him his new stats, but he wants to see them after his adventure. At the dungeon entrance, the Loki Familia's captain gives a speech to his group about the upcoming adventure. In another place, Belle explores the 9th floor with Lily and senses a foreboding atmosphere. Cornered by a Minotaur, Belle recalls his first encounter with one and manages to cast several firebolts at it. However, the Minotaur attacks him, leaving him injured and tired. Meanwhile, on the lower levels, Finn's group learns about the Minotaur on the 9th floor, and the Loki Familia decides to go help. Back to Belle, he barely evades the Minotaur's attacks. A wounded Lily regains consciousness after saving Belle from the Minotaur, and Belle tells her to flee. The battle continues, and the Minotaur breaks Belle's chest plate using its horn. At that moment, Ace arrives at the scene, but Belle, feeling upset, pushes them away and declares that he doesn't want her help anymore. He fights fiercely against the Minotaur, pushing himself to his limits, while Lily and the Loki Familia watch in amazement. As Belle confronts the Minotaur, Bet recognizes him as the scared guy Ace saved before. Tiona asks Ace if it's okay to let Belle face the Minotaur alone. During the ongoing fight, Freya watches with intense emotions. Belle eventually defeats the Minotaur, using its own sword and a powerful firebolt. With the monster defeated, Belle stands victorious but falls unconscious. Lily rushes to him, and the Loki Familia approaches too. Following Bet's request, Riveria checks Belle's abilities and reveals they're all at the S rank. Shortly after, Belle wakes up at home, comforted by Hestia, realizing how much stronger he's become. At the guild, Ina notices Belle's happy expression. To her surprise, Belle reveals he reached level 2 in just a month and a half. Hestia helps him check his stats, and he discovers a new skill called Argonaut. Hestia explains that this skill reflects Belle's dream of becoming a hero. Hestia then goes to a meeting of the gods called Denadius Day, where they'll choose a second name for Belle. In the temple hallway, Hestia talks to Takuma Kazuchi about Belle's rapid progress to rank 2. They also discuss another member, Yamato Makoto, who reached rank 2. Belle's second name becomes Little Rookie. At the Hostess of Fertility, Belle celebrates with Lily, Seer, and Ryu. Ryu warns Belle not to go past the 13th level of the dungeon if he plans to explore the middle floors, as the monsters beyond that are too tough. Ryu suggests joining a party for safety. The next day, Belle goes to the blacksmith store of the Hephaestus Familia, hoping to find armor made by Welf Kratzo. While searching, he meets Welf himself. They chat outside the store and become friends. Welf proposes a deal. He'll make new gear for Belle if Belle lets him join his party. In the dungeon, Lily is unsure about Welf. She explains that Welf's family used to be famous for making magical weapons. However, they lost that skill, which caused their downfall. The group fights monsters that attack them, and Belle notices he's gotten faster. During a battle with a dragon, Belle realizes that his Argonaut skill boosts his power at the last moment. Afterward at the church, Belle wonders if Hestia knows about Welf and his family. He asks her if she has any information. She explains that the Kratzo family used to make magical swords, and if the rumors are true, Welf is the only one left who can do it. But he chooses not to make magical swords anymore, and the reason is unclear. The next day, Belle tells Welf that they won't go into the dungeon because Lily is unwell. As a special treat, Welf takes Belle to his blacksmith workshop to make new gear. He explains that he avoids making magic swords because they can bring out the worst in people. He wants his work to stand on its own. Welf turns Belle's bull horn into a new knife as a thank you for their friendship. Later on, Belle, Welf, and Lily get ready to explore the middle floors of the dungeon. Hestia says goodbye to Belle outside the church. She notices Belle wearing salamander wool, and he explains Ina told him it's necessary for the mid-levels in the dungeon. Outside the dungeon, Takuma Kazuchi oversees his Familia's departure for the dungeon. Hestia approaches him, and they discuss their Familia's venturing into the dungeon's mid-levels and tell her not to worry. Within the dungeon, Belle's group encounters hellhounds, and after defeating them, they face a group of Almiraj. Meanwhile, Hermes and his Familia's captain, Asphai, discuss rumors about Belle. Despite the rumors, Hermes remains intrigued by Belle. They then head to the Hostess of Fertility, where they meet Chol and Seer. Back in the dungeon, Takuma Kazuchi's Familia flees from Almiraj while carrying an injured member, followed by a pack of hellhounds. Meanwhile, Belle's party confronts a large group of Almiraj on their own. Oka, carrying the wounded member, chooses to prioritize saving their partner's life over helping Belle's party. Takuma Kazuchi's Familia members pass by Belle's group, leaving them to deal with the pursuing hellhounds. Belle's group fights back and tries to escape, but earthquakes occur, injuring Welf and trapping them. Worried that Belle has not returned yet, Hestia goes to the guild but doesn't find Belle there. She submits a quest to find him and his companions. While they wait for the guild to process the quest, Takuma Kazuchi arrives at the guild with Uka and Makoto, who seem full of guilt. In the dungeon, with no good options, Lily suggests going deeper into the dungeon, all the way to a safe place on the 18th floor using natural paths called shafts. The Loki Familia had recently defeated the boss on the 17th floor, so Belle's group decides to push through. Takuma Kazuchi and his group apologize to Hestia for their actions. She forgives them and asks for their help to rescue Belle. Hermes also arrives and offers his and Asphai's help for the quest. Hestia and Hermes insist on joining the quest, even though gods aren't allowed in the dungeon. Belle's group faces stronger monsters as they go deeper into the dungeon, and on the surface, Hestia and her group prepare to go into the dungeon, with Ryu now helping them. In the middle levels of the dungeon, Ryu and Asphai lead the way in battling a group of Almiraj and Hellhounds. After defeating these monsters, the group faces an obstacle when they come across a cave-in, blocking their path. During their search, Hestia finds one of Belle's weapons nearby. Asphai deduces that Belle's group is likely heading to the safe zone on the 18th level. Meanwhile, Welf experiences the negative effects of using too much will-o-wisp magic, resulting in a condition known as mind down. Lily has also passed out from exhaustion. Despite these challenges, Belle refuses to leave his friends behind. He carries them further into the dungeon and stumbles upon a shaft that takes them down to the 17th level. As the search party continues their quest to find Belle, Hestia questions Hermes about his true motives for wanting to locate Belle. Hermes admits that someone asked for his help, but he also has a personal interest in the matter. The group eventually reaches the Great Wall of Lamentation, and Belle spots the exit leading to the 18th floor. However, just as he approaches the exit, the floor boss starts to appear. Belle manages to evade it and reaches the exit. Finally, on the 18th floor, Belle encounters Ace before collapsing from exhaustion. Ace Familia rescues them and provides healing. Bell expresses his gratitude for their help. In the captain's tent, Bell thanks their leader and offers his assistance in return. Bell and Ace later explore a forested area, and Bell admires the beauty of their surroundings. Upon leaving the forest, they come across a massive tree with a dazzling crystal formation above it. Ace explains that the crystal's light fades over time, creating a nighttime atmosphere. Hestia and her group finally catch up, reuniting her with Bell. Mikoto and her companions apologize for their earlier actions, and Bell forgives them, although Welf and Lily do so with some reluctance. After resolving their differences, the group leaves the tent. Before Welf departs, he receives a gift from Hephaestus along with a message from her. This message makes him reconsider his stance on magic swords and raises questions about his future choices. Bell and his friends arrive in the town of Rivera on the 18th floor of the dungeon. Rivera is known for its high prices on goods and accommodations. The girls decide to take a bath, while Hermes takes Bell aside for a chat. Bell realizes that Hermes brought him along with the intention of spying on the girls, which Bell advises against. Hermes argues that it's a form of male romantic expression. This reminds Bell of similar advice he received from his grandfather. In a humorous twist of events, Bell accidentally falls into the bath and quickly runs away after seeing Ace undressed. While catching his breath, he unexpectedly bumps into Ryu. Surprisingly, Ryu forgives Bell, leaving him puzzled. She opens up about her tragic past as the lone survivor of a massacred Familia. Seeking revenge got her blacklisted by the guild. Seer provided her shelter and introduced her to the hostess of fertility, where she found a new purpose. Ryu warns Bell not to depend on her, but his words manage to uplift her spirits. Meanwhile, a group of jealous rogue adventurers, resentful of Bell's rapid growth, plots revenge against him. Ace approaches Bell, and they discuss their plan to return to the surface. Hestia watches their conversation, upset that Bell might have peeked when she was alone in the bath. Suddenly, an unseen assailant kidnaps Hestia and leaves a note in their tent. Bell discovers Hestia's disappearance and rushes to where she's being held, encountering Mord and his group. Mord challenges Bell to a one-on-one duel, with a deal: if Mord wins, he gets all of Bell's belongings; if Bell wins, Hestia is set free. The duel begins, and Mord uses a magic helmet to turn invisible and attack Bell, as arranged by Hermes to test Bell's skills. Welf and members of the Takamikazuchi Familia arrive to assist, fighting against Mord's companions. The guards overseeing Hestia decide to join the fight as well. Lily disguises herself as an Almiraj and rescues Hestia. Bell manages to hold his ground against Mord's attacks, dodging with ease. Before Mord can strike again, Hestia uses her divine powers to scare them away. But then, a strange shaking occurs, causing the floor to crack open above them, but this action triggers a bigger and more formidable version of the Goliath floor boss to emerge. Bell's group rushes to assist other adventurers in dealing with the crisis. Mord and his companions face minotaurs, but are rescued by Lily. Asfi gathers local adventurers to form a united front against the creature. Ryu, Mikoto, Uka, and Welf engage in a battle with the formidable Black Goliath, but their attacks prove ineffective. Ryu estimates the boss's level to be around 5. They manage to damage the Goliath with their combined spells, but it quickly regenerates and continues to cause havoc. Bell defeats a Minotaur and is later joined by Ryu and Asfi. They decide to distract the Black Goliath so that the mages can cast more spells on it, repeating the process until it's defeated. Bell charges his right hand with his Argonaut's skill and unleashes a powerful firebolt at the Black Goliath. During the intense battle, Bell's potent attack hits the Black Goliath, but the monster remains undeterred and goes after him. Uka protects Bell from the attack, but both of them are knocked unconscious. Hestia, Lily, Ryu, Asfi, Chigusa, and Mikoto reach Bell and inform Hestia that he's alive, but seriously injured. Bell can hear Hestia calling out to him in his subconscious, but can't control his body. Hermes appears before Hestia and Lily and recites inspiring words from Bell's grandfather. Motivated by these words, as well as the support of Hestia, Lily, and Hermes, and driven by his desire to be a hero, Bell regains consciousness. Empowered by his Argonaut skill, he confronts the Black Goliath while wielding a large two-handed sword. Mikoto briefly restrains the creature, allowing Welf to use his magical sword, Kazuki, but it breaks. With the backing of his companions, Bell charges up his heroic shot on the Black Goliath, obliterating its upper body. He then uses Hestia's knife to finish off the remains. Amid cheers, Hermes proudly proclaims to Zeus, Bell's late grandfather, that Bell is the last member of their bloodline and has the potential to be the world's hero. Returning to the surface, Bell and his companions celebrate their victory at the hostess of fertility. Afterward, Bell rests his head on Hestia's lap as they find comfort together. Stay tuned for part 2.